Gold made people rich. These supercars made them richer, and it all begins with a car. Almost everyone got completely wrong. Number 5. The SLR McLaren wasn't born to be ordinary. It was born from one of the most ambitious collaborations the automotive world had ever seen. On one side, Mercedes-Benz, a company known for luxury, engineering, and refinement. On the other, McLaren, the Formula One team, dominating world motorsport alongside Mercedes. Together, they wanted to build something extraordinary, not just another supercar, a machine capable of blending luxury, technology, and Formula One DNA into a single road car. The result was unlike anything else on the road. A hand-built, supercharged 5.4-liter V8, over 600 horsepower butterfly doors, a carbon fiber monocoque, and a hood so long it became one of the car's defining features. It looked like nothing else. And maybe that was part of the problem, because buyers didn't quite understand it. If you wanted comfort, there were better choices. If you wanted the most extreme supercar, there were better choices. The SLR sat somewhere in between, too aggressive for luxury buyers, too refined for hardcore enthusiasts, and because of that, it spent years living in the shadows, overshadowed by the Ferrari Enzo, overshadowed by the Porsche Carrera GT, overshadowed by almost every headline of its generation. Many people assumed its value would slowly disappear, just like most expensive cars do, and for a while, they were right. But then something happened, not to the car, to the people. Collectors stopped looking at lap times, they stopped reading old magazine reviews, and they started asking a completely different question. Will Mercedes and McLaren ever build something like this again? The answer became increasingly obvious. Probably not. This wasn't just another Mercedes, it was the product of one specific moment in automotive history, a moment that could never be recreated. Before hybrid power, before turbocharged downsizing, it became the industry standard. Before digital screens replaced analog character, the SLR suddenly became something much bigger than a fast car. It became a time capsule, and collectors, I love time capsules. Almost overnight, demand started rising. Auction after auction, and prices climbed, then climbed again. The same car that once struggled to justify its original price and was suddenly being hunted by collectors all over the world. Back in 2003, a brand new SLR McLaren cost around $450,000, an extraordinary amount at the time. Today, finding a clean, low-mileage example for that price is almost impossible. Many now sell for $700,000, $900,000 now, and some rare specifications have comfortably crossed $1 million. Not bad for a car people once believed would never become collectible. But if you think that's surprising, the next car was mocked for an entirely different reason. People didn't question its engineering, they questioned its price. And years later, that decision would make some owners more money than they ever imagined. Most people thought it was simply too expensive. In the early 1990s, spending at almost $1 million on a road car, it sounded ridiculous. For that money, you could buy several Ferraris, a mansion in many parts of the world, or invest it and retire comfortably. So when this car arrived, many people asked exactly the same question: who would ever pay that much for a car? The answer turned out to be some very smart people. Number 4, the McLaren F1. But here's what made it different. It wasn't designed to become the world's greatest investment. It wasn't even designed to become the world's fastest production car, at least not at first. Its creator, Gordon Murray, had only one goal: build the perfect driver's car. No compromises, no unnecessary technology, no marketing gimmicks, just engineering taken to its absolute limit. Everything had a purpose. The chassis was built entirely from carbon fiber, something almost unheard of for a road car at the time. The engine? BMW didn't simply provide a powerful V12, they built one of the greatest naturally aspirated engines as ever made, a 6.1-liter VI-12 producing 627 horsepower, no turbochargers, no hybrid assistance, just pure mechanical brilliance. Even the engine bay was lined with real gold, not for luxury, not for status, but because gold reflects heat better than almost any other material. Think about that. Most manufacturers use gold to sell exclusivity. McLaren used it to solve an engineering problem. That's the difference. And perhaps the most famous feature of all, the driver's seat. Not on the left, not on the right, but exactly in the center. Every single decision was made for one reason: to create the ultimate driving experience. Nothing else mattered. Not sales, not profits, not shareholders, only perfection. Then something happened nobody expected in 1998. Without even being designed specifically for the purpose, the McLaren F1 became the fastest production car on Earth. A top speed of 240.1 miles per hour, a record that stood for years. Suddenly, people stopped asking why it was so expensive. They started asking how they could buy one. The problem, there were almost none available. McLaren built just 106 cars and only 64 were standard road versions. That number changed everything. Collectors realized they weren't looking at just another supercar, they were looking at a car that would almost certainly never be repeated. Today, manufacturers chase speed with electricity, with software, with active aerodynamics. The McLaren F1 did it with engineering alone. No driving modes, no launch control, no hybrid batteries, just a driver, a gearbox, and one unforgettable V12. Back in the 1990s, a McLaren F1 cost around $815,000, an almost unbelievable figure at the time. Today, that same car regularly changes hands for $20 million, sometimes even more. That's an increase and few investments in modern history can match. Imagine explaining that to someone standing in a McLaren showroom. Back in 1994, they would have laughed. Today, nobody's laughing, and yet the next car didn't become legendary because it was perfect. It became legendary because Ferrari made sure almost nobody could own one. Money can buy almost anything: a mansion, a private jet, even a Formula One team. But in 2013, money alone couldn't buy this Ferrari. Number 3, the Ferrari LaFerrari. Its name almost sounded too simple, LaFerrari, as if there could only be one. And in many ways, there was, because Ferrari wasn't trying to build just another hypercar. They wanted to build the ultimate expression of everything the company had ever learned. Decades of racing, countless Formula One victories, thousands of hours you spent chasing one thing: perfection. The result was extraordinary. A naturally aspirated 6.3-liter V12 paired with Ferrari's Hypercars hybrid system, together producing 963 horsepower. It was brutal, beautiful, and unbelievably fast. But here's what made the LaFerrari different. The hardest part wasn't paying for it. The hardest part was convincing Ferrari to sell you one. You couldn't simply walk into a dealership and place an order, even if you had millions in your bank account. Ferrari chose its customers, not the other way around. Many buyers already owned several Ferraris. Some had spent years building relationships with the brand. Others were quietly rejected, not because they lacked money, because they lacked history. Ferrari understood something most manufacturers never will. Exclusivity isn't just created by building fewer cars, it's created by controlling who gets one. That decision changed everything. The LaFerrari was never just transportation. It became membership, a passport into one of the world's most exclusive clubs. Then supply disappeared almost immediately. Ferrari built just 499 coupes. Later, another 210 Apertas. That was it. No second generation, no larger production run, no surprise re-release. Finished forever. Collectors knew exactly what that meant the moment production ended. The waiting list didn't disappear, it got longer. Back in 2013, a brand new LaFerrari cost around $1.4 million. Already an extraordinary figure, but today, finding one for that price is almost impossible. Low mileage examples you frequently sell for 3, 4, sometimes more than $5 million in barely a decade. Think about that. Many people spend years trying to double their investments. Some LaFerrari owners saw millions added to their car's value simply by waiting. No renovations, no upgrades, no improvements, just patience. But here's the fascinating part. Even Ferrari couldn't predict what happened next, because the next car was never supposed to become one of the greatest investments in automotive history. In fact, many people were afraid to even drive it. Some said it was too dangerous, too unforgiving, too wild, and that reputation ended up making it even more valuable. Ost collectors protect their investments. They hide them away. Climate-controlled garages, battery maintainers, perfect conditions. But this car created a completely different problem. People were afraid to drive it. Number 2, the Porsche Carrera GT. Today, it's one of the most desirable supercars ever built. But when it first appeared, its reputation was very different, because this wasn't a car that forgave mistakes. It demanded everything and gave back exactly what you deserved. No more, no less. It arrived in 2004 looking like something from another planet, a carbon fiber monocoque, a 6-speed manual gearbox, no automatic option, no dual clutch transmission, no driving modes, no electronic shortcuts, just a driver, a clutch, a gear lever, and one of the greatest engines ever fitted to a road car, a naturally aspirated 5.7-liter V10, producing 605 horsepower originally. That engine was never even intended for a road car. Porsche had developed it, for endurance racing. When the racing program ended, the engineers refused to let it die. Instead, they built an entire supercar around it. The result was breathtaking, but also demanding. Unlike modern hypercars, the Carrera GT didn't try to save you. It expected skill, respect, and complete concentration. If you got it right, it felt like nothing else. If you got it wrong, it could punish you instantly. Over the years, that reputation only grew stronger. Magazine headlines, internet forums, YouTube videos, everyone seemed to describe it the same way: raw, unfiltered, terrifying. Then, in 2013, everything changed. The tragic passing of Paul Walker in a Carrera GT placed the car under an even brighter spotlight. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about its beauty. They were talking about its danger. Many believed its reputation would destroy its future value. But something unexpected happened. Collectors didn't see an outdated supercar. They saw the end of an era, the last generation. Before computers, I started correcting every mistake. The Carrera GT didn't make you feel like a racing driver. It forced you to become one. And in a world where almost every new supercar can drive itself, that experience has become almost impossible to replace. Then came the manual gearbox renaissance. Collectors who once chased the newest technology suddenly began searching for something far more emotional: engagement, connection, a machine that demanded your full attention. The Carrera GT had all of it, and demand exploded. Back in 2004, its original price was around $440,000, already an extraordinary amount. Today, that same car often sells for 1.5, 2, sometimes more than $2.5 million, not because it's the fastest. Modern hypercars can easily outperform it, not because it's the most comfortable. It isn't, not even because it's the rarest. It's because cars like this will never exist again. A naturally aspirated V10, a manual gearbox, almost no electronic interference, built by Porsche at exactly the right moment in history. And collectors know it. But somehow, even the Carrera GT couldn't match the final car, because the number 1 spot doesn't belong to the fastest or the most powerful. It belongs to a machine so rare, so important, that it stopped being just a car decades ago. Today, it's treated like a priceless work of art. And once you see what happened to its value, you'll understand why no investment on this list comes close. There was only one car that could take the number 1 spot, not because it was the fastest, not because it was the most powerful, but because it completely changed what people believed a car could be worth. Number 1. The Ferrari 250 GTO. Back in 1962, it wasn't built to become a collector's item. It wasn't built to sit inside climate-controlled garages. It was built for one reason: to win races. Only 36 examples were ever produced. Even by Ferrari standards, that number was incredibly small. But rarity alone doesn't create legends. History does. And the 250 GTO collected history almost everywhere it went. Victories, championships, endurance races. It quickly became one of Ferrari's greatest achievements. Yet here's the incredible part. In the 1960s, buying one didn't require hundreds of millions. The original price was around $18,000. Expensive? Absolutely, but possible for the right buyer. Now, let's put that into perspective. If someone had bought a Ferrari 250 GTO, brand new, and simply kept it, they wouldn't have just beaten gold. They wouldn't have just beaten the stock market. They would have owned one of the greatest investments in history. Because today, depending on its history, its condition, and its racing pedigree, a Ferrari 250 GTO can sell for 60, 70, sometimes more than $100 million. Think about that. From $18,000 to more than $100 million. Very few assets of any kind have ever achieved that level of appreciation. But the biggest lesson isn't the money, it's why. Because every car on this list has something in common. The Mercedes represented a partnership that will probably never happen again. The McLaren was engineering without compromise. The LaFerrari was exclusivity at its absolute peak. The Carrera GT captured the final years of pure analog driving, and the Ferrari 250 GTO became automotive history itself. Collectors don't just buy horsepower, they don't just buy performance, they buy stories, emotion, heritage, and once a car becomes impossible to recreate, its value stops being measured in horsepower, it starts being measured in legacy. Because in the end, the world's greatest investments aren't always made of gold. Sometimes they have 4 wheels. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, because next week we're uncovering another story from the world of luxury, speed, and the machines that changed history. I'll see you in the next one.